Ian has a trilogy of simulations that are like thousands of years apart, but set in the same situation. And the first of these is a small community living in the shadow of a volcano that's about to explode, right? So Ian, talk about how communities construct time, especially in relation to like external events like a volcano erupting, and how you turn that into a simulation.
Yeah, sure. So that work was called Emissary and the Squad of Gods, and it was inspired by hearing about these hurricane parties like in New Orleans, where people would host parties at hearing the news of a pending hurricane, and it's always a bet whether the hurricane will wipe you out or just kind of glide on by. And the parties were a way to, I guess, resist moving and to kind of plant your feet down, invite everyone, make a celebratory experience of holding out. Meanwhile, there's always someone crying, like, we gotta move, we gotta move, we gotta move. And so I wanted to build a simulation of this social effect. And so the first simulation from the Emissaries trilogy, all the characters were living in the shadow of a volcano that may or may not erupt, but I gave each character the behavior of essentially doing little rituals that involved the landscape, getting food, making prayers to this one part of the volcano. Meanwhile, there's an emissary character who got hit in the head and didn't have literally those AI scripts in its brain. And so would try to, cry, ring the bell and say everyone should move, and try to convince all the other characters, all the other AI agents to leave the simulation. And over time, what would happen is some of these other characters could persuade the emissary character to get off her script, and they would literally, on a technical level, install their ritual script into her, and she would get pulled into a more reactive simulation that had a different duration, doing the rituals that she didn't want to do but was forced to do socially. And vice versa, sometimes she could convert or persuade other characters to get rid of their script and go along with her. And it made me think of this idea that when someone in your community is playing a different game or there's another script in them, they might feel like they're playing the same game as you, but because they're kind of off on this own other beat, you can't trust them as a player in that game. They're playing a different game. And I think in a way you could conflate a little bit game and temporality. Like every game has its own temporality, has its own tools for organizing both objective and subjective time. And I really wanted to create a simulation that kind of dramatized this conflict of being in two different games and two different temporalities.